The part of fortune in your natal chart is where you find your world success. It's where you're in high demand. And when you access this space in your natal chart, you'll also find that working this and manifesting this in action in your daily life will bring you into a space of contentment. It will bring you into a stabilized sense of feeling good and better about yourself on a regular basis. And so the intention behind this video is to be an accompaniment to these worksheets, which I've created for you, called The Part of Fortune Your Lot is in High Demand. And in these worksheets, we go through the process of putting your part of fortune into action. We will be discussing everything in this video that is in these worksheets, but along with the worksheets come the ability to journal and to also read more of your part of fortune in text, and to get everything that you get in this video on a PDF file for you to use. So if you guys would like to get your worksheets, they're in the link below on my Etsy. Well, you may be wondering, why haven't you hear about the part of fortune very often? Why is it the most underrated part of your chart? Well, actually, it's a very ancient practice to look at the part of fortune. It's something that even back in the day, you would consider this for people of royalty. And people who did astrology quite often were the servants of those in royalty, those in a certain hierarchy. Part of fortune, like the North Node and the South Node, is a quick shortcut to figuring out, if the child of the royals will be great or how to get them to be great. And in modern day astrology, the mentality isn't always about serving royalty, right? It's more about applying these ancient concepts to your everyday modern life. So what I'd like to provide for you here is to show you how the part of fortune can very much so be that. As I've said, when you access this part of your chart on a consistent basis, you actually may find some contentment. You might actually find that you're crafting confidence in ways that you never imagined. Let me give you an example. Beyonce Knowles has her part of fortune in the third house. She's a marketing genius, and in many ways it was nurturing this part of her chart, whether conscious or not, that actually really helped to skyrocket her world success. The third house is also the house of skills, and it goes without saying that one of her main attributes is her ability to practice and to hone in on her skills. So we see here that the part of fortune isn't just about world success. It gives a sense of fulfillment, especially when you consider it as something you do consistently. It helps to bring you into contentment. Why would not anyone want to understand their part of fortune? Let's take, for instance, the impact of the part of fortune in the chart of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe has her part of fortune in the 9th house in Aries. And when we look at the zodiac sign of Aries, it's actually about the physical body. And her world success was based off of the shape and the power and the strength of her physical body. It's just that simple. And her part of fortune was in the 9th house. So there's an aesthetic to her contentment and to her world success and her physical power, which was based off of her positive belief and faith. And even though Marilyn Monroe was also known to have certain situations that were a little bit more difficult, and she may have dealt with some addictions and whatnot, because, when we're looking at the part of fortune, we are just looking at one part of your chart. But you can see that through her world success, her stamp on the world and what she was in high demand for was because she brought a progressive idea of being more positive, of being more exotic, and allowing her mind to expand, to cross amongst different cultural norms, and to challenge different cultural norms. So if you'd like to understand how the part of fortune works in your natal chart, you'll see in the timestamps below that I'll have the zodiac timestamps and the house placements timestamps so that you can quickly go to whichever one you would like. But first, in order for me to really make you guys understand how the part of fortune works and how you can understand its energy, I'd like to bring you to my favorite city in all of the world, which is my hometown, New York City. Yes, New York City, okay? And that's because the part of fortune is also considered a lot of fortune. It's what some astrologers will describe as a lot of fortune. And what is a lot? Well, a lot is actually just a space, a space. And your part of fortune is too a space in your chart. It's just this space. It's calculated by your sun, your moon, and your rising. And in this space of your chart, it's where you can access your inner contentment, your world success, your luck, and your fortune. So how does this work? Well, let's go back to New York City. And when you think about New York City, you see cab drivers, you see buildings, you see cars, and it's very busy. The biggest thing that you cannot find in New York City is parking. That's right. And so the people who own spaces in New York City, sometimes they don't need to build a big brownstone building or a townhouse to make money. Sometimes all you need, if you want to make money in New York City, is some space. And you make that space into your parking lot. And that lot is your lot of fortune. Why? Because finding parking in New York City is almost impossible. And therefore, if you're somebody who owns a lot a space that you can make into a parking lot, you can charge people to park there. And you know you're going to make money. You know you're going to make a success because it's in high demand. So what I'm trying to tell you is that when we use this metaphor and we apply it to your chart, your lot of fortune, your part of fortune, is the same idea. It's the space in your chart where you're in high demand. And the thing about it is that maybe no one can really find anything like this in this arena. And this is why you have this in your chart. And the best thing about it, when you think about that parking lot in New York City, is that there's not too much cost up front, right? Consider a real estate situation where you've got to put a lot of money into building or renovating. Yeah, you don't have to do that if you just have a space or a lot. So there's also a lot less struggle and hurdles that you really have to put yourself through in order to access this part of fortune. It's really quite incredible, and it's really something that we all could use, because it's also about coming into a space where if you do this regularly, you might just feel more satisfied with yourself. You might feel more confidence and expand yourself beyond measure. Now, the best part about your lot of fortune, not only are you in demand, and it comes at very low cost, so it's so easy and it brings you so much luck. The best part about it is that it actually is a space of prosperity. It's one of the calculations of prosperity. Now, if you guys would like to get your own prosperity reading from me, you can check the link below. It'll take you to my Etsy, where you can book your own prosperity reading and get a breakdown of how that works in your chart, because we'll look at part of fortune, Jupiter, your second house. We'll also tie in the gene keys, and we do a few things to really dissect how your prosperity is working. But even if you're just looking at part of fortune, this is also a space where other people can use. Going back to the metaphor of the parking lot, people want to come and park their cars here in your lot of fortune. So prosperity is a big part of your part of fortune because it helps other people eat from your abundance. That's an upgrade from just being rich and being wealthy, because rich and wealthy you'll find here, you can find how to access it, but that'll just be for you, but and if you're okay with that, that's fine. But prosperity will bring you into the space where you can let everyone around you eat as well. And this is when you find it really manifesting beautifully in celebrity charts, and you see how it works in celebrity charts, right? So now I'm going to start. We're going to begin the process of going through the part of fortune. We're going to begin through the zodiac signs, and then we'll go into the house. Beginning with part of fortune in Aries. So, like I've already mentioned in the example of Marilyn Monroe, if you have your part of fortune in Aries, quite often you are going to be in demand for your physical presence, the shape of your body or the strength of your body. Something about your body is the key to your prosperity, and showing up with your body intact and ready to show off. Really sometimes in the closest of its nakedness as well, because Aries is very like not very covered. It's very like raw, right? So raw nakedness of the body, or close to it, of course, is really going to be quite beneficial for you. You're going to find that if you own this part, that you'll also feel more content. You're going to feel better about yourself on a regular basis, showing up and exhibiting your body and making it something that you're proud of and confident of. It's also important to not shy away from your passion, to not put others before you, and to not see the power that you have to stand on your own and be your own individual identity. With the part of fortune here, this will bring you a lot of joy. And if you're ever finding that you're falling unstable from any sort of joy, go independent. Take the reins in your own hands. Right now, if we go into Taurus, and if you have the part of fortune in Taurus, then you're somebody who has a very strong value system. And this is a place where if you deeply value yourself and have radical self-care, that your part of fortune will thrive. And it is the things that you really own, like the things that you own, like physically, like your materials things, or just your ideas, your values that you own. It becomes something that people find are in high demand. Okay, people will want to buy your things. Okay, it's like the easiest place to make money. People want to buy your stuff. And it doesn't matter if it's like an industry where many things are there. It doesn't matter. It's about the fact that your value system is just in such high demand. People are curious about what makes you valuable, what makes you worthy, and this is your part of fortune. It will bring you consistent happiness and contentment when you adorn yourself with the things that will ignite your senses: oils, body massages, lovely scents. Allowing your whole body to be the thing that you own and possess first before anything else will really enhance your sense of value in your flesh and bone. Because Taurus is the I have, but you have yourself first. And taking care of yourself is the key to finding that value and how it translates into the things that you do and bring to the world. Allow yourself to move at your own pace if you have Taurus part of fortune. You want to allow the racy craziness of the world to inspire you, but not rush you. You know that taking care of things over a consistent basis over time creates the highest quality. So if you're working on a day-to-day basis, ignite the fact that over time it will grow into the most beautiful gardens. Now, if we look at the part of fortune in Gemini, you will find that this is deeply connected to how you speak. Okay, so something about how you speak, it might be your intonation, your voice, there's going to be something maybe unique or just really captivating about your speech. It may be even an accent. Some of you might have an accent that's really captivating, or it's just the swag and attitude of your voice. This is what makes you in high demand. And really being able to own this, it's not hard. It's very easy. It's low cost. It's just being able to express this, and it also will make you feel so good about yourself. You'll see that it's the way that you speak that it really carries you. And it might even be a little bit of like showing off your teeth, having a really bright smile might also be really captivating. Okay, and so some of you'll be known for also the things that you write, right? So you might be really well-known writers, and your writing or what it is that you have to say could last like the test of time. It could be something that deeply inspires people. Some of you are really, really good at translating writing, and that too could be seen in the third house, but in Gemini it's also very powerful. Okay, now let's move on to if you have part of fortune in Cancer. So if you have the part of fortune in Cancer, then there's something about your connection to your home life, where you come from, and some of you it's even broader. It's just your nationality, owning your nationality. And, depending on what planets and whatnot you have in Cancer, you could find that, you might have certain struggles. And this is for all the placements, because sometimes the part of fortune isn't always easy to access because maybe there's like Saturn there, or there's Mars there or something like that. And it can be a little bit more like having to kind of swift through the attitude of the planets. But even still, it's at a very low cost. It doesn't really take much, and you have to kind of penetrate this into your mind. And so if you have part of fortune in Cancer, you'll be deeply known for where you came from. Your world success will be based off of family, or how your family cultivated you. Your family itself might be very rich. Also, your mother might be like a deep part of your world success. Your mother might be one of the reasons why you are successful. Maybe your mother cultivated something in you to help you push yourself out into the world. So that is what it looks like if you have the part of fortune in Cancer. Now, what if you have the part of fortune in Leo, right? Well, those who have the part of fortune in Leo, they're really, really know how to put themselves out there and kind of shine their light on where people need entertainment and happiness, fun, games, and enjoying themselves, right? It's the space of also really cultivating a lot of attention towards yourself. And people who have the part of fortune in Leo, they naturally know how to do this, even if they appear to not really have too much talent. It will be the fact that they don't have too much talent that will make it very talented. And even if they have a lot of talent, then they're deep show offs. They're just going to take it to another level. With your part of fortune in Leo, you play with drama, you play with comedy, you take things to the extent, you take things to the edge of showing off. And this becomes one of your natural gifts, and your world success will be based off of your natural ability to just entertain. People are really captivated by you. You can have incredible stage presence. You might be, it doesn't matter your height. It doesn't matter, what your background is. It doesn't matter if you come from poverty. It doesn't matter. Like, this is about low cost. And so it will be about owning just what makes you unique, what makes you shine, and pulling all of that to the forefront for you. And that's what it is when you have the part of fortune in Leo. So what if you have the part of fortune in Virgo? Oh, goodness. Okay, so for those who have the part of fortune in Virgo, they're going to be very well known for their work ethic. It will be your work ethic that kind of pulls you to the forefront. It will be your need and eye for perfection that makes your world success what it is. There's a sophistication about whatever it is that you're doing, that brings you to the forefront. You might be somebody who's overshadowed by someone else, and that brings you to the forefront. That is your world success, because you might be display an example of what it means to be humble, and it will be through your humility, which isn't about putting yourself below people. It's about putting yourself at the same place as people. So people who have part of fortune in Virgo, they're known for just their humanity. They are kind of the regulars who did extraordinary things, and this is what makes them really, really powerful. Some of them may have like rags to riches stories as well. You might find that also with part of fortune in Taurus, and they naturally are going to be really good at whatever it is that they do. They're going to be, and the reason that they're good at it is because they are willing to practice. They're willing to put in the work. They're willing to hold themselves accountable. They're natural servants, and because of that, it doesn't matter what they're serving. Even if it's on a huge worldwide scale, the people who have part of fortune in Virgo will serve humanity, and this is what makes your world success. Now, let's say that you have the part of fortune in Libra, right? Well, if you have the part of fortune in Libra, then it's a part of your beauty that is in high demand, and it's your beauty that is going to bring you that world success. And there's also a level of bringing the peace. There's some sort of like peace factor, peace treaties that you might be also indulged in that can really captivate. But that also might mean that you are disturbing. You're disturbing the peace. Some people who have it might disturb the peace first, and then they might bring the peace. So they might be the peace to their own disturbance. Highly fashionable and easy to stylize, which also is really interesting. People who have it also, they're well known for the partnerships that they made. They may have entered their field or industry through being with other people, but they it was their collaboration. It was their ability to collaborate, right? Because the skill it takes to collaborate, the way that your ego has to fit in with another person's ego, that's really really in demand. People don't know how to do this sometimes. And so watching you do this is deeply inspiring, and it really creates like your world success based off of the collaborations that you do. When you work with other people, they complement you, and they make you shine. They make you even more physically powerful by working with other people. Now, if you have the part of fortune in Scorpio, then you have a deep mystery about you. And so, your world success will be about the fact that people might be trying to figure you out. They might be really entranced also by your transformation. You might be another rags to riches possibility is here. In Scorpio, because Scorpio is about transformation. But it might be also not just rags to riches, but just from one state of being to another state of being. So you might have like a version of yourself that shifted into a different phase version of yourself, and that is the thing that makes you really, really captivating. It might be the fact that the way that you think and your psychology is also a little bit like confrontational, a little bit like on the edge. It'd be easy for you to show off occult knowledge, expose and highlight occult secrets, symbols, and ideas. And that's also what makes people who have part of fortune in Scorpio very captivating, because they're kind of digging underneath people's skin. They're kind of allowing you to see the hidden parts of their nature, and so that brings them world success. Some people who are also with part of fortune in Scorpio, they might be well known because of their sexual power, their sexual partners, for either has many sexual partners they had, or a very dynamic sexual partner that pulls them into their own power, right? Their own sophistication is also seen here, their own ability to kind of be powerful because they are the company to another person's sexual power. So it becomes a lot about, with part of fortune in Scorpio, how it is that you enhance another person. And it's very similar to Libra, but it's the sense of Libra is about how you harmonize with another person. And part of fortune in Scorpio will be how you will bring the best out of someone else, right? Naturally, your sexiness and your sexy power, your ability to flaunt your sexual power, this is you. This is all you, and it's easy. It's natural for you. Certain people who have certain planets here, they might be more limited. They might be more far away from the space. They might not recognize that it's their sexual power that is helping them to dominate, right? But the people who do, you'll see them because they're so powerfully in your face. And so everyone is really about finding where their strength is, right? Are they being more of a sophisticated prude about their sexual power, or are they being loose and open and free about their sexual power? This might be due to certain certain planets, or certain aspects that are happening towards the part of fortune that you would see it more customized, right? If you have the part of fortune in Sagittarius, it is your positive energy. It's your exotic energy, and it's your ability to almost seem like you don't look like where you come from. So you might be like, an emblem of your culture, but at the same time, you might be something that is beyond your culture. And that's what Sagittarius part of fortune might be. It's also your deep wisdom. So people who have a part of fortune, they naturally know a lot of things. And they can be kind of the teachers, right? The teachers of the world, and this is their world success, is that they really are kind of taking that role. They also might be like a guru in a lot of ways, and it sneaks up on you because it doesn't matter the industry. The industry is not as much about what the part of fortune is. So certain people who are in certain industries, you might be like, well, how is it that they're teaching me? But then you'll find that they have like this following of faithful people who look up to them as muses and almost idols to a certain degree, and they can have a bizarreness about them that also makes them kind of cool and like really welcoming. And so people who have the part of fortune in Sagittarius, they seem very, very edgy. They're like the edgiest version of their culture. They're taking their culture and they're adding like something else to it. And it really just, it's such an easy thing for them to do. And when they harness that energy, their physical power and their material gain is undeniable. Now, let's say that you have the part of fortune in Capricorn. Well, more than likely, you are kind of like at the top of your field and your energy. And if you aren't, it's mainly because you haven't accessed that contentment of being in charge. So, people who have part of fortune in Capricorn, they like to be in charge. They like to be the ones that people are respecting, and so a part of that part of fortune for them is to be seen, to be recognized, so that they can get that respect. And even if it seems like you're getting disrespected, right? Because to be in the public eye, it could be a little confusing. Some people that you'll find who have the part of fortune in Capricorn, they're not necessarily, they're well known, but they're not necessarily on the lighter side of fame. Some of them have, more darker elements to that fame. And that's because we're not in Sagittarius anymore. It's more about your ambitiousness and whatever it is that you're willing to do to get there. Even if that is pulling out the more vulgar and the more like, sweaty palm version of yourself, like the part of you that might bitch slap somebody or disrespect somebody else, or even the part of you that just might, you just might really show that you got grit. And it's that part of you that really actually puts you out into the world, and that helps you to easily get that recognition. And for you, it's really about cultivating that self-respect. And, when you cultivate that self-respect, your part of fortune in Capricorn will feel good, especially because it's in the public eye. And in the public eye, you can't guarantee everybody's going to like you. So you got to cultivate that self-respect from within yourself. Now, let's take a look at people who have the part of fortune in Aquarius. So if you've got the part of fortune in Aquarius, you are unusual. You are beyond what people can tolerate sometimes. And this is what your like low cost effort of success is. It's about pulling out the parts of you that people may not like for sure, right? We've come from the grit where people really don't like it, but this is about self-acceptance. So it's not about trying to get under people's skin or just showing the dark side of you just for a little bit of recognition. By the time we're in Aquarius, your part of fortune is about the bizarreness of you that some of us try to hide away, that some of us don't really want everyone to see. But when you show that, you show a light of you that's imperfect, and then you show the power of your own self-acceptance. You become the most in totality because of that imperfection. And that's what captivates people about you. That's what makes you have your world success. You also might be technologically more advanced than people give you credit for. You may have something that is really trendy about you. It may be easy luck for you to go trending due to your part of fortune being in Aquarius. And it doesn't matter the industry, the people who have lasting lasting careers in their industry, and they have the part of fortune in Aquarius, it's because even in the most simplest industry, there is some sort of modern idea that you're bringing to the table. And that's what makes you different. So you're going to show probably something different than what people, not just of you, but what people expect in the industry. People with this placement can also have long withholding careers, especially with the progressiveness of aging. They could experience more influx as they age, showing that modernization of aging as well can be something that is continued, that things can last deep into our elder years. Aquarius is preparing the energy for retirement. And with part of fortune here, it may even show that your fortune is that even in a retired age, that one can experience a lot of fortune. Aquarius rules over the underdog, and quite often people who have fortune in Aquarius are representatives of the underdog, and they're here to help kind of break the mold of hierarchy for those underdogs. They create for those underdogs a chance for them to kind of elevate. So people who have part of fortune in Aquarius also are deeply connected to those who are forgotten, those who are left behind, and they deeply represent like marginalized or discriminating against people. They're here to help those who didn't have a chance to kind of see how they can have their own fortune and have their chance too. Now, if we're looking at part of fortune in Pisces, we're going to find people who create a lot of world success based off of kind of their other side of their various role playing that they can do, right? So these are natural actors for sure, and it doesn't matter the industry, they may act in every industry. They also show the more like part of them that might self-sabotage. So you might see the parts of them that are falling from grace, right? And the way that they do it, or the act itself in the fall from grace, becomes the world's success, brings them back out into the world, and their physical power is there. Because what we're seeing is someone who is going to show themselves after their greatness. So they may achieve something and then fall from grace. And so they get almost like a double whammy of greatness. Also, they're really great in the afterlife of their achievements. So because it's Pisces energy, so they might actually revive or rebuild like a version of themselves that lasts forever. And they gain a lot of real success when they're vulnerable, when they expose themselves, expose their secrets, when they're welcome in the parts of them that might not be so acceptable, like shameful things that we don't want to share, right? This might be where they actually can thrive off of those things. They are the deepest healers. People who have part of fortune in Pisces, they might be ones who are known forever for like healing the world through their industry. And they are, in a lot of ways, they are glamorous in their fall. In their fall from grace, they're naturally glamorous. They can have a fountain of youth to them. They can feel like they will live forever, or their name will be well known past their heights in their industry. And these people are kind of like the memories of a certain generation or era in time, but also error. Their fall into their errors make them who they are, because they show us that through our mistakes, through our getting back up and coming back to life after mistakes, that we can still find success. And this is why they're in their careers, they may have various of different roles, but the career itself still is intact. You know what I'm saying? And they can change and shift. They can be chameleons in their industry and still just be well known. They might be the natural healers, or the antagonists of healers as well. So that is the part of fortune through the zodiac signs. And through that, we focused on world success and how the aesthetic of world success will be. Now let's go for the part of fortune through the houses and see the differences when we have the part of fortune in the houses. Now we're going to move through the house systems, and we're going to begin with the first house. So for those who have the part of fortune in the first house, your presence, like you're the one who is in high demand. Okay, so like if it's a party, if it's a meet and greet, if it's a gathering, whatever it is, your part of fortune is showing up. That's it. You don't have any sort of thing that you have to do besides easily showing up. And this brings you a lot of contentment, because when you show up, you revive a sense of youthfulness and renewal to yourself. It's like you rebirth yourself, or actually birth yourself, period. It's not a rebirth. It's actually just, there's a new version of you that's born. And the old version of you still remains, but you are just constantly being born. And so when you show up in the first house, it's your personality, it's the way that you dress, it's the whole way that you come across, it's everything about you. And when you keep showing up, you also continuously make new first impressions on different types of people. And this is what makes your part of fortune powerful. So you can be well known for one type of way that you were, and then you show up with a whole new version, a whole new presentation, and people, they don't see you as rebirth. They just see a new version of you. So they're like, oh, I never knew that he was like that. Now I can add this to the list of ways I would describe this person. So when you show up, you continue to impress new people and the same people, because that first house is the house of first impressions, right? And really, it's the whole presentation that really makes your part of fortune just kick into high gear. People are in need of you. You're in high demand when you show up and birth yourself again, right? You bring yourself back to the light. And it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter anything like that. You bring back a sense of youthfulness about yourself too. This is what makes you in high demand. You probably inspire a lot of people to own a new version of themselves, to not get stuck in just one way of seeing themselves, allowing people to see the variety that they can be when they see you do it. And so they eat from that abundance in so many ways. Okay, if you have the part of fortune in the second house, well, it's sometimes it's the tone of your voice, because the second house can still be recognized by the throat, but it really is your income and your money, your value and your worth. You are a deep need for everyone. You're in deep demand. Okay, people who have part of fortune in their second house, people don't even know why they need you so badly, but you are highly valuable to people. They just cannot move without experiencing you. Okay, you're useful. People can use what you have. Maybe it's your principles, like maybe it's the way that you behave. Maybe it's the actual worth that you are. And it's because you are either worth a lot or worth nothing that makes you extremely valuable. Because some people who have part of fortune here, another rags to riches placement, as I've mentioned, it's because you are just absolutely who you are without the money, that your world success and your demand creates the money. Okay, and people, they need you so badly. They need you like they need food. They need you like they need their basic needs to survive. Your part of fortune in the second house is, it's almost overwhelming to some people, because it's like, well, how and why is it that I need this person so badly, right? And it's not like, and you may stand out, but you might in a lot of ways feel very ordinary, right? You may even have a voice that's kind of like if you're a singer, you might have a voice that's kind of ordinary. Though some singers, they have part of fortune here and their voices are booming and they're big. So it doesn't have to be one or the other, but it's almost like it just doesn't matter. If your voice is not ordinary, then you're needed. If your voice is very ordinary, then you're needed. If you're poor, your people value you. They value you because you're poor, and you are who you are. And if you're rich, they value you because you're rich and what you can bring to the table, of how you can enhance other people, and make other people wear your stuff, wear you on their, they might wear your brand on their, in their outfits. They might hold your products in their homes, and it brings value to their life. And so the part of fortune in the second house is pretty dynamic, and one of those things that really helps a lot of people to gain abundance off of you, because a sense of worth is a really important thing in this world. Now, if you have the part of fortune in the third house, well, you are in high demand because of your marketability. Okay, more than likely you have a whole product that enters into the commerce market, and it is just marketable. You know, it's just, you've got everything that we need to put you on the billboards, to put you on the advertisements. You probably are a walking advertisement yourself with a part of fortune, and it's at no cost to you. All you got to do is just say, I'm coming out with this thing on this day, and you will find that it's a natural advertisement, because you have a way with your words, you have a way with your swag, you have a way with your attitude. You also really understand your community, and you know how to communicate to your community, which makes you also extremely important, and extremely important for, extremely in demand for the way that you will speak up for your community and speak about your community. You become the messenger for your community. People need you to speak for them to other people who don't get people and where you come from, and you can introduce an entire community to the world. You're in high demand in the third house when it comes to the market. People need your marketability, and because of this, you understand commerce in a very easy way. It's very easy for you to be the main product of the market, or to take over the market based off of your part of fortune in the third house. Okay, let's look at part of fortune in the fourth house. If you have the part of fortune in the fourth house, you might be very well known for the people who carried you, whether it's your mother, whether it's friends, it doesn't matter. But there's almost this idea that something carried you to a certain destination, because the fourth house and also the third house are the third house is connected to transit, and the fourth house is like the car itself. So the third house, people are known for transiting, for moving, right? And what they're moving in. But the fourth house is also just as powerful, like also where you come from. But it's like where you come from carried you. So if you came from a certain, neighborhood, no, better yet, if you came from a certain village or heritage, it's your heritage that will carry you, that will bring you your world success. If you come from, if you worked with certain people, these people, they carried you, they harnessed you, and that's what helps your success, right? It's not collaboration. Like, they carried you, they nurtured you, they gave you the milk that you needed to feel fed, or they gave you whatever it is that, like, you were almost even codependent to some of these people. It could even be for some placements. Okay, but it's also really deeply connected to like hometown. So your hometown might be a big part of your demand. People might really be in demand of where you came from, of how you represent your hometown. You might use your hometown as a way to describe yourself, and it creates a connection to you, because whether people are from that same place or not, it's like they get to know a version of you just based off of where you came from. Also, your family. Did you come from a poor family? Did you come from a rich family? Those things also play a major role when you have the part of fortune in the fourth house. And also, your home itself might be the thing that helps to bring you out into the world. And again, it's low cost. So it's, if you live in a hut, then it's the fact that you live in a hut that could bring you into demand, because people might be, well, how did you do that? How did you survive in a hut? Or if you lived out of your car, it might be, well, how did you do that? Or some people, you're going to find some people who have this, it's because they live in a mansion, and people are inspired by that beautiful lifestyle of a beautiful home and desire to have that too. Okay, so let's look at the fact if you have the part of fortune in the fifth house. Well, these again, similar to Leo, are the natural show offs, okay? And they're going to be known, like you're going to be known for some sort of, thing that's connected to dating or flirtations. And you're in high demand because of either the fact that you're the one who is dating. So this is like natural, like when everybody's nosy about what celebrity is dating who. Like you could be like, even in your own, even if you're not a big celebrity yet, you probably can be, but people want to know who you're dating and why. And there might be even certain like affairs that you were with, certain dates or people that you're with that play a big role in you getting to be known, right? People might be in demand to say, well, how did you survive dating that person? Or what was it like when you were going through that affair, or when you're, things like that. It goes without saying that people in the fifth house grow based off of their talent, their raw talent. And, being that the fifth house is naturally Leo ruled, what happens in the fifth house is that it's the way you express your talent. So this is where you're going to pull everything that you got out of your natural gifts and abilities and allow it to skyrocket you into world success. Some people with this placement even are considered not very talented, and they'll still be able to push themselves out into the world because maybe you can't see the talent, but the talent is there and it's been kind of raw and waiting to show itself. You might be somebody who just seems very dateable, right? And that that could be it. But a lot of the people who have this, it's because of their various partners. Like their various people that they dated are known for bringing them into the light, and it might be the fact that you were in demand in the dating field that makes you really interesting, okay? And some are going to be known for a little bit of their scandals, like their dating scandals. It's not like something that's really awful. It's just understanding that it's such a flirtatious space. So you could be married, but you might have like, some cool stories of what it was like before marriage. Or you might be married and beyond scandal, it might be, well, this is how we dated and how we got to marriage. So people who have this fifth house, sometimes it's a story of the interim, like before marriage story that brings them into high demand, because a lot of people might be curious, like, remember that the part of fortune is where people eat from you. So a lot of people might be curious, well, how do we get from dating into actual seriousness? So this could be like, these could be the people who show you that, how they went from a light flirtation into a serious romantic affair. Okay? And these people are naturally charismatic, naturally really flashy with their personalities, and can have very warm personalities as well, very inviting, warm personalities, because the fifth house is connected to our joy and our expression and things like that. So the part of fortune, that's the part of fortune in the fifth house. Let's look at the part of fortune in the sixth house. Okay, so for people who have the part of fortune in the sixth house, they're going to be known for their work. Okay, similar to Virgo. In Virgo, it's really connected to the servitude. In the sixth house, it might be connected to like their routines. So they might be like really showing you how they create their routines. You might see them be naturally attuned to a skill. Also, third house is skill, and I didn't really mention that, but in the sixth house, you can also really see the skill manifest in its mastery in the sixth house, right? The skill becomes something that is like, well, wow, like it's clear that this person has been doing this for a long time. They've put in their 10,000 hours and stuff like that. These people have a long ability to adapt to their calling, to their vocation. And so they naturally can kind of have a job or work ethic that lasts forever, and are kind of known for that as well. All right, let's say you have the part of fortune in the seventh house. Well, you're in high demand because of your ability to harmonize with other people. And the seventh house is also about creating commitments that really push you into the world. So it doesn't matter if you're committed to another person. Some people, it might be that, like they might be known as being marriage material or married, but it's way deeper than that. In the seventh house, it's about this kind of, like the sixth house, we're looking at work ethic, right? But then seventh house, it's like, well, I've got a deadline. I've got to commit myself to making something by this date, you know. And so these are people who, they just keep going with their commitments, and they have strong convictions as well, right? They can even seem a little superficial because the conviction itself is the part versus anything else. So they can have a strong conviction to one thing like money, or they could have a strong conviction to one thing like, you know, their partner, right? They could have a strong level of showing off that they are loyal, that they're committed. They are very lucky when they partner up with people, when they allow themselves to shine alongside someone. This is when the luck expands. It shows that even people from different walks of life, different ages, different cultures, different ways of being, even same culture, different ways of being, harmonizing with that looks different than you or seems different than you, is the luck and the lot that you're in high demand if you have the part of fortune in the seventh house. You can marry yourself. Okay, in the seventh house, you can marry yourself, and these people, that's what they do. At a low cost, they marry themselves, and they are in high demand because of the fact that they aren't going to shine right away. They aren't going to step out into limelight right away. But if you are just as committed to them as they are to themselves, you will be floored by what it is possible that they could do. So the seventh house is one of those houses that are really dynamic in their process. And that brings us to the eighth house, which is the actual house of transformation. So you're going to see that people who have part of fortune in the eighth house, they are actually kind of divorcing from certain commitments, and this is what makes them different. So they might come out showing a version of themselves and then show you a transformed version of themselves. They may not be what you first saw them as or how you were introduced to them as. They may end up surprising you by changing into if there's somebody who's hated, they might change into somebody who's liked. If there's somebody who's liked, they might be changed into somebody who, you know, causes more friction. I don't want to say completely disliked, but certainly they maybe have shown off a very kind version of themselves, and then you discover they had some serious things in their closet that we finally got to see, and now we see them as a full human being. You know what I'm saying? People who have this, they are sexually powerful and dynamic, and it's very easy for them. And people might be like, well, I just don't even see it, I don't get it. But they draw so many people towards them. They might actually be kind of unique in their sexual energy. They might also be dominant, right? So some of them might be a little off the grain in what is considered, you know, naturally sexy, but then some of them might be like your cliche version of that. And everyone is kind of becoming a sex revolutionary with the part of fortune in the eighth house, because the eighth house is constantly taking what was and renewing it. And so with that, we get a rebirth version, similar to the first house in the sense that you really are reborning yourself. You're rebirthing yourself in the eighth house. People with this placement are deeply connected to trauma. They're connected to the evolution, the revolution of trauma. And because of this, their own secrets, their own trauma becomes a part of what their world success leads them out into their own fortune. They're lucky when they are revealing their trauma, when they're showing that they're trying to become something more elevated, something different. Because that eighth house can be where we kind of harbor our stagnant emotions. So the people who are really open to shifting and changing, transforming themselves and others, that way they become in high demand for others to kind of alleviate their trauma as well. It's a very powerful secret power position. Now, let's move to the ninth house. People who have the part of fortune in the ninth house are culture creators. They're creating culture. Okay, they have the ability to recognize what is popular in culture, meet that popularity, and then shift the culture completely to their own will and desire. And they have the right to do so because these people, the reason that they're in high demand is because they're deeply connected to their higher selves. They're connected to the God. They're connected to the everything that is of the divine realm, and they're bringing it into other cultures. So the person who has this, right, especially in their prosperity, right, in their prosperity, they are almost cult-like. They create a cult-like culture. You'll find this also in the Sagittarius energy, as Sagittarius rules the ninth house, but these people are almost seen as a guru to their culture. The part of fortune is becoming a cross-cultural person, someone who's crossing the barriers of culture, inviting other cultures to consider integrating and inviting people to have an open mind. And when they do this successfully, they're the right ones to do it because they're the closest to God in a lot of ways. So they have the right to be kind of the know-it-alls, and it's at a low cost. They just come in, like, it's very similar to Sagittarius. They come in having the knowing, right? But it's about really harnessing the prosperity here. The prosperity is so important because prosperity will create create a ripple effect for so many people to eat from that wisdom. It's important for people who have part of fortune in the ninth house to publish and distribute their works, to put it out on platforms and get people to see what they've done. They're like the Bible in the era of when the Bible got copied and it was spread out to the world. It becomes a place where people can decide for themselves their own biases, beliefs, and faiths. And so they have a responsibility to produce and distribute, specifically distribute things, in order for their world success to really find itself. Now, if you have the part of fortune in the 10th house, well, more than likely you are really well known, okay? Because you naturally know how to basically take charge. All right, and you're gonna take charge, and no one's gonna stop you. And some people who have the part of fortune here, they may victimize themselves first and then take charge, right? Sometimes they need that too, because the 10th house is grittier than the ninth house. Ninth house, both of them can create very, very famous people. All of these places create very famous energy, right? But the ninth, 10th house is out in the open, so they'll be the first to be famous. You know what I'm saying? But the 10th house always has a more of a grittier side to it. And so sometimes it's like, well, I'm going to show you guys how I was victimized, and then I'm going to show you guys how I take my power back or how I take my authority back. That's a big strategy. And I really would like to say that I think it's strategically done in so many versions of people who have part of fortune in the 10th house. They know that telling their story can pull them out into the open so much faster than everyone else. And especially if they have like a taking back my power story, there, your part of fortune is just going to thrive. You know what I'm saying? People are in demand of that because everyone's looking for a rags to riches or an inspirational story that, makes them want to be, famous too, and so the people who have this, they are deeply, deeply, bossy. They have a boss energy. They'll probably have a business. And if they're not creating a business, then they have yet to even really embrace their part of fortune. Because the people who have this here, they're in their industries, but they're supposed to create an industry out of their industry. And so the ones who are doing it, they're the ones who really find that prosperity, and they grow beyond just the little the little employee role that they first had. No, now they're not employed by other people. Now they are the ones who are employing other people, right? They're the ones who are hiring the people. And that's when your part of fortune thrives, when you're in that space in the 10th house. Now, people who have the part of fortune in the 11th house, they are naturally influential, they're progressive, but most importantly, they're networkers. They know how to pull a crowd of people, and this is what makes them great. Even if they don't have talent, or even if they stole the talent, or even if they're, even if they're the most craziest, personality, even if they're the most regular personality, they have the ability to pull an audience. Why? Because they are strikingly philanthropic. They're strikingly pulling people to their human selves, wanting people to see acceptance right in the face, or actually see intolerance in the face, and also learn how to accept even the most intolerant nature. And these people are also, they'll be known for they'll be remembered through their technology. They'll be remembered for almost creating, some of them create new technologies. It doesn't matter the fields, even in acting, you can create new modern ways to act better. You know what I'm saying? And so everyone who's here and they're embracing their part of fortune, it also brings them so much contentment to work on something that's beyond them. So it's the complete opposite of like Leo in the 5th house, where we're being flirtatious, we're being a little selfish, we're entertaining people for our own enjoyment. No, there's different types of entertainment. And when you put it in the 12th house, when you put it in the 11th house, these are people who are not just entertaining for entertainment's sake. And so many people might put them in that box, but they lose sight of what these people are actually doing. You know what I'm saying? They're not just role players. They're not just here for the glamorous life, even though they may be more glamorous. They are really trying to get a message to reach you in the way that you can understand humanity better. They're trying to bring forth a new concept, a new idea that gets humanity to become better people. And so the best of the best will own this, and they'll feel good about it. So the people who don't get their world success and have this placement, it's because they're trying to just be cute, they're trying to just be liked, or they're trying to keep it easy instead of go for being dynamically progressive and making people confront their humanity, making people feel something beyond just their own selfishness. These are when people have this, they do it so well, and it's probably even more courageous sometimes than a Leo placement or a 5th house placement, because they naturally just show off. And here it's not about naturally showing off, it's naturally being about something beyond yourself. And a lot of people can't get that. A lot of people just don't understand how that's done. So these people are the trendsetters of the new world. They create new trends when they become courageous enough to stand for something. Very similar to that Aquarius energy as well. All right, in the 12th house, we find that the part of fortune manifests itself in a deeply glamorous light, and these people are naturally like old school Hollywood vibes, okay? And when they embrace this, they have that kind of like nostalgic energy, and they'll kind of be representatives of nostalgia as well. The people who have part of fortune in their 12th house, they're in high demand for being a nostalgic, an emblem of nostalgia, and they're also in high demand of being deeply compassionate in anything that they do. That's what also creates nostalgia, because you can look at the past and hate your past. That's not nostalgia. Nostalgia is like enjoying the past, almost wanting it to come back a little bit, trying to get a little piece of it back. And these are the types of people that they give that to you. They'll give you the nostalgia back. They'll help you to remember a time when you were doing this and enjoying these people. They become landmarks in time, landmarks on someone's journey, and they also are deeply memorable people. And a lot of this is about allowing yourself to kind of unveil and then reveal yourself. So like you might find ways to kind of dethrone everything you've known about yourself with the part of fortune in the 12th house, and then build it back into something more ethereal and a little bit beyond your own self-expression. The people who do this successfully, it's such a contentment to kind of shatter everything they know about themselves and then bring it back into almost like a glamorous, glorified version of themselves. They may create a persona or personality that's not them, that kind of stands up beyond them. And so they may hide behind those personas as well. And there's a lot of secret, sacred energy behind these people, that, you know, people might constantly be trying to understand why or how they did the things that they did, or you know, what was behind their creative ideas. What was it that made them choose this type of role versus another type of role? There's a lot of mystery that happens here, and sometimes a lot of it is people who hold back their real selves to the world and give you the version of themselves that you will always remember, because that 12th house really is about remembering the things that we love and forgetting the rest, especially when it's released the shame, right? And part of fortune is really going to help you find the beauty of the 12th house. So we're not going to do no self-sabotage here. No, these people, even in the face of what could be self-sabotage, they just come out so dynamically glamorous, and they do it in such a beautiful kind of timeless way. Okay, so that is the part of fortune, you guys. This is your lot of fortune. Tapping into this on a regular basis will make you feel better about yourself.